We've just got done watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale. There were some fun cameos. Hayden Christensen earned his paycheck, and Obi-Wan said the thing.
Hello there.
But as fun as it was seeing Ewan McGregor slipping back into the Jedi robes throughout the Disney Plus limited series, we just couldn't get past some of the glaring potholes that we'll now go through episode by episode. So in part 1, we're introduced to a jaded Obi-Wan who has renounced the ways of the Jedi Order and the Force entirely. However, Obi-Wan argues with Owen Lass over Luke's future.
We talked about this. When the time comes, he must be trained.
But why? Obi-Wan himself has completely turned his back on the ways of the Force. In fact, literally one scene earlier in the episode, when encountering a former Jedi in the desert, Obi-Wan tells him to
stay hidden. Live a normal life.
So why does he want to train Luke? Using the Force at all apparently gets a load of Inquisitors after you, and so he'd just be making Luke a target. In the original trilogy, Obi-Wan wants Luke to be trained so that he can confront Darth Vader. However, this series begins with Obi-Wan not knowing that Vader is still alive, so arguing with Uncle Owen about training him just makes no sense. In the first episode, we're introduced to Reva Savander, known as the Third Sister, who is an Imperial Inquisitor hunting Jedi. It's revealed later on that Reva was a Jedi youngling who was present at the Jedi Temple during Order 66 and swore revenge on Anakin after witnessing him murder her friends. So then she hatched a plan. She'd become a member of the Empire and hunt down the remaining Jedi Knights who survived the Purge. All as a cover to gain favour with Vader so that she'll get a chance to murder him for revenge. During the first episode, she cuts off a woman's hand and helps to catch a Jedi in hiding. So because she's angry at Vader killing her Jedi friends as a child, she's helping to kill other Jedi as an adult, as well as randomly mutilating innocent civilians along the way. Also, during the episode, Obi-Wan agrees to save Princess Leia, who has been kidnapped at the request of Bail Organa. We learn that Bail doesn't know who's behind the kidnapping and that he doesn't want to take it to the Senate because it'll draw too much attention to Leia and his family. However, this is really stupid because it just brings a lot of suspicion to the Organa family who, as soon as their daughter is kidnapped, have a Jedi show up and rescue her multiple times. A Jedi who has been off the grid for over 10 years at this point. If the Empire does indeed happen to find out about Leia being saved by a Jedi, which they will do later on in the series, then Bail and his family are as good as dead. Well, you'd think so anyway, especially as the kidnapping isn't widely known, so it wouldn't take much to assume that the Organas asked Obi-Wan directly for help. In part 2, Obi-Wan travels to Daiyu to find young Princess Leia and bring her back to her parents. During his time in the Blade Runner-esque city, Kenobi tells a fraudster named Haja about his mission to rescue Leia. Later on, Haja refuses to tell Reva about Obi-Wan's whereabouts.
What did you ask? You know what? I'm not gonna answer it.
I don't need you to.
Wouldn't she also learn about Leia as well? Surely now you just sit around outside the Organa's home in Alderaan and wait for them to eventually show up? At the end of the episode, we get a big scene with Obi-Wan in which he learns that Darth Vader is still alive. But how does he not know? Bail Organa is in contact with Obi-Wan and has ties with the Empire, so surely he'd have heard the name Darth Vader pop up at least once in 10 years. Also, people talk. There are nearly 28,000 people on a single Star Destroyer alone. And I don't know about you, but if a man turned up at work in black motorbike leathers, a breathing mask and some kind of odd samurai helmet, then yeah, I'd be telling all of my friends down the pub. The Grand Inquisitor seemingly suffers a fatal blow at the end of the episode. But, spoiler alert, we find out later that he actually survives. Look at this. How the f*** can anyone survive this? In Episode 3, Obi-Wan easily takes out 4 stormtroopers and a probe droid. It's a cool little scene with one trooper even falling and getting sliced in half. Neat. Then, however, 3 stormtroopers show up, one less than the 4 our hero just defeated, and Obi-Wan surrenders, even though the blaster is still in his hand. Huh? Why didn't he just lay waste to these guys as well? They're coming right at him. Also, Obi-Wan shoots a fence to deactivate it, when he could have just walked around it, which is just pure stupid. The writers couldn't resist having Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight again, multiple times. In their first confrontation, Obi-Wan is manhandled and made to look like an absolute bitch by his old apprentice. Of course, Obi-Wan gets away, as his new ally Tala sneaks up onto a cliff and lights a pile of rocks on fire. A loader droid then picks up and carries our beaten protagonist away to safety. Does Vader extinguish the fire with a force push? Does Vader pull Tala off the cliff with a force pull? Or does Vader just admit defeat and walk away? What the fuck? During the 4th episode, Tala and Obi-Wan attempt to rescue Leia from Fortress Inquisitorius. By far the dumbest part of this episode involves Tala speaking loudly to Obi-Wan on comlink, all while there's an officer sat next to her listening to every word. She also kills a guy, which apparently nobody sees or hears, all the while leaving her comlink behind that could potentially be found by anyone. Obi-Wan, Leia and Tala are saved in the nick of time by 2 T-47 snowspeeders who take everyone out. At the start of the episode, it's said that the fortress has no shields because nobody would be stupid enough to attack it. But surely it would have some defences, right? Are we to believe that there are no anti-aircraft defences at all on a fortress? Also, how are a man, a woman and a child able to fit on the backseat of a snowspeeder? In Empire, they looked cramped when you just had one guy in there. Also, if the Empire weren't suspicious of the Organa family before now, then surely they are after a Jedi just infiltrated a fortress to save their daughter. Why isn't Vader heading straight to Alderaan and choking the life out of Bail? We see an Anakin and Obi-Wan flashback in Episode 5. In this fight, Anakin is very aggressive, with Obi-Wan warning Anakin against being so. A Jedi's goal is to defend life, not take it, says Obi-Wan. To which Anakin replies,
"Mercy doesn't defeat an enemy, Master."
Now, this fight occurs after Anakin's been at the Jedi Temple for over 10 years. But it appears that the ways of the Jedi have completely eluded him, as he appears to really be into killing. Why would anyone continue to train him? He's obviously got some serious rage issues, and you're just making him more powerful. Obi-Wan surrenders himself to Reva and is told that Darth Vader is on his way. He is surrounded by a battalion of stormtroopers, and we were left thinking, how is he going to get out of this one? Well, quite easily it turns out, as instead of just keeping Obi-Wan on his knees in front of everyone, Reva sends him back into the caves with just 2 stormtroopers guarding him. Why? Just keep him there. Towards the end of Episode 5, Vader stops a transport ship from taking off by using the Force. He pulls it back to the ground and rips a huge hole in the side of it. However, it's then revealed that there's actually nobody on board, and another transport behind this one quickly takes off in the background and gets away. But wait a sec. Why didn't Vader just use the Force and stop the second ship from leaving as well? It's not like it was instant. There's a good few seconds where Vader just stands there and watches the ship leave like a chump. Also, and because we're nerds, we know that a Star Destroyer can hold a full wing of TIE fighters. Typically around 48 of them. Why didn't the Empire have their fighters patrolling the skies above the hangar just on the off chance that a ship could leave? Not only does Reva make an absolute hash out of trying to kill Vader, but after the Sith Lord defeats her, he stabs her through the gut and then just walks away. Which is massively against character, because he always finishes the job. In fact, he was going to kill her in the previous episode for being incompetent. I just don't understand. When Bail Organa thinks that Obi-Wan has been captured, he sends a message to Obi-Wan, revealing the name Owen and talking about the children. Is he really this dumb? If Obi-Wan had actually been captured, then the Empire would have just learned everything from a minute-long message. We always thought that Bail Organa was a smart man, but the script here just made him look like a complete imbecile. Also, why didn't Obi-Wan delete this message, considering what was at stake? The episode opens with Reva on Tatooine looking for Owen and a boy, based on the stupid message Bail sent in the last episode. But how did she get here so fast? She could barely walk the last time we saw her. A Star Destroyer is pursuing the fleeing transporter with our heroes on board. Again, no TIE fighters in sight. Obi-Wan takes off to a nearby planet. And so Darth Vader abandons the pursuit of the transport ship with Leia and co on board and gives chase. Just send a few fighters after the transport ship. There's absolutely no reason to abandon it when you have so many resources. So Vader and Obi-Wan fight again, and towards the end of the duel, Obi-Wan displays one of the most powerful depictions of using the Force ever seen in the series. We know it serves the story and all, and it was hilarious seeing Vader just getting absolutely pummeled with rocks. But we can't help but remember that merely days earlier he was struggling to move tiny objects around. So immediately after fighting Darth Vader, Obi-Wan senses that Luke is in danger and uses a hyperdrive to quickly get there. We're pretty sure that Leia and the rest of the people on board the transport ship earlier could have really used that hyperdrive, but the plot decided that getting Kenobi to places quickly is more important. So what you gonna do? Reva brings Luke back home and reveals that she couldn't kill him because she was reminded too much of Order 66. Our problem with this scene is that Reva knows the secret of Luke, and Obi-Wan risks keeping her alive. I mean, I guess he isn't just going to outright murder her, but that's a little risky, no? And now we're at the end. And the script does its best to explain why in A New Hope, when Leia sends Obi-Wan a message, it sounds as if she's never met him.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire.
Now, the way that the canon is supposedly left intact is because Obi-Wan tells Leia that if they do cross paths again, then nobody must know of their connection or it will endanger them. But this doesn't make much sense if you think about it, because Leia is already putting everyone in grave danger by A. mentioning her dad, B. mentioning her dad is against the Empire, C. mentioning she wanted to bring Obi-Wan to meet her dad and that the fate of the rebellion is at stake. So what danger is she avoiding by simply not talking to Obi-Wan as if she knows him? She's already got her family killed if anyone finds this message. But you know, expect to see loads of articles online about how they fixed the massive plot hole. Even though they obviously didn't. And there we have it, our summary of the biggest plot holes in the series. It was still a fun show despite them, and we actually enjoyed that it seemed a little low budget. We'd rather have Obi-Wan fighting a few stormtroopers in a corridor than this CGI shit. But what did you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did we miss any other plot holes? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.
Goodbye, Darth.